Hey, Teresa.
Hey, Tina.
Of this world, this political world. How does he repair the sense that the Senate is a place that even is relevant?
I'm not so sure. I mean, there are some Democrats that probably will
will say, you know what, we need to work across the aisle, we need to, but there is no working across the aisle. So these are folks who are bent on upholding I guess, ideology of a group of people who feel that they're losing power in this country because of the black, the brown, and of this country. And so, you know, there is no working with that. We have to get them out of office.
Our beloved nation reverently pauses in supplication to remember and to pray for the many thousands of people who have died from the coronavirus during this past year. We turn to the Lord of all to receive these, our sisters and brothers, into eternal peace, and to comfort all those who grieve the loss of a loved one. This virus, more than taking the lives of too many of our citizens, as well as people around the globe, has left in its wake a sobering awareness that we are all united in the sorrow that we recognize today. We pray for those who have died and the families and loved ones that they left behind. We do so not as strangers or disinterested persons, but as fellow citizens who share some limited portion of their grief and sorrow. We pray for the countless families and relatives who had to survive.
Hey there, Paige.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I just made it.
Well, we're so glad you did. You actually had about 4 minutes to spare.
Well, I don't know how anything's going to work again because this is my second meeting without internet.
So you just don't have it at home?
Well, there's something the matter with it, and I have not been able to get it fixed. And they're coming to install the new what speed on Monday. So I've been kind of patching it together. So if I slip off the page tonight, you'll know why.
Are you getting the new fiberglass, fiber optics?
Yes,
Are you with AT&T?
yes.
Yeah, I just got mine installed yesterday.
Well, there's been something wrong with the old for, well, a week and a half anyway. So I can't get into the folder to see the things that were posted for this meeting. So I'll just be listening closely, I guess.
Okay. All right. Hey, Tammy.
Hey there. Good evening, everyone. And I just, I was having trouble logging on, but I just heard part of that conversation. So, Mrs. Stevens, if you're having trouble with e-meeting, if you want to, or seeing the attachments, if you want to give us a call tomorrow, we can talk you through that a little more to make sure you're able to access that.
Well, my difficulty is I don't have internet.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
it's been down about a week and a half. So I'm doing this on my phone, which is not really conducive to the whole process, but it'll have to do until they come and repair me.
That's right. I remember you telling me that now. I will share most of the documents for the meeting.
Okay, well, I have the strategic plan and the something else from the folder you prepared for me. So I won't be totally in the dark.
I tell you what, technology is rough. You know, it's supposed to make life easier, but it doesn't always do that. So, well, Mrs. Osborne, how are you?
I am good. How are you doing, Mr. Becker?
I'm doing fine. Do you think I need to get a little trim?
I can't help.
I haven't been able to get a haircut or anything and still really can't for about another month.
Mhm.
Oh, too much.
Mimi won't cut it for you?
Well, I really know better than that. I don't think she would cut it anyways. So, anyways, we'll give it a whirl. All right, it's 5:30, everyone. I want to call this meeting to order. A special called meeting for January the 19th, 2021. Our next item of business is we need to approve the meeting agenda as submitted. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for the approval of the agenda as submitted. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing there are none, the motion carries. Thank you all. Okay, on this next section, and I know, Paige, you're not used to doing this, but it's the presentations, and board members can take this opportunity to make comments about what's going on in the district or what's going on in the community. So Wade, can I start with you first?
You sure may, and I'll be short and sweet. I just wanted to first give kudos to the district and the school at the school level. Administration and the teachers are making headway to prepare for our students. I know it's not been, easy. And, we've just had to make some decisions that, they're decisions. And whether it's on this board or any other board or anywhere, I mean, you're going to have the pros and the cons. And, but like you said, we do the best that we can with, just making great conscious decisions, for our kids. So I just wanted to give them a pat on the back. And, because oftentimes, we can say a lot of things, but you just need a good pat on the back sometimes to say, you know what, attaboy, attagirl, that, we see you, we hear you, and we're proud of you. You're doing the great work, for our kids and community. And so I'm just saying thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, Wade, thank you so much. Paige, do you want to comment now? You don't have to.
I think I'll pass. I'm still too much of a newbie to have anything quality to say right now. So I'll listen.
Okay, sounds great. Hey, Glenn, how about you?
Only the Florida person. Y'all have good. Good Godspeed.
Okay, well, we had a hard time with your voice.
I
We'll
think
keep track of that, but
he was saying that he was just saying that he will be out of town as of Thursday, taking care of some family situations, and just asking for present thoughts as he travels to Florida and return.
that's excellent. And of course, he has that from us. That'll be an automatic. Okay, Troy, how about you?
Just like hope that everybody's still staying safe and doing what they need to do. But I just want to say, please keep your thoughts and prayers with Miss Yolanda Weathers, where she had lost her father this morning, if I'm right. They lost her dad. So just keep
Oh,
her.
yeah, most definitely. Thank you,
Yeah.
Troy.
Just keep them in your prayers. That's all I've got.
Gosh, that's quite a jolt to the community. He was just a dynamic man, and what a wonderful community person and family man. So he will definitely be missed. I'll take this time at this point. I have to be right there with Mr. Stanfield as far as I think sometimes the board, as a collective body, we have to make decisions. Not everybody's going to agree, but at some point we've got to get a decision made and we've got to get things moving on. I do understand that I took a pretty harsh tone on things that I own it. I said it, I own it, but I do believe passionately that we need to get our kids back in the building. And I know it's not always the most positive way to go for everyone, but it is something I think as a district that we do put the students first. So, and along with that, I do thank all of our staff and our teachers and classified folks and all those who participate to make this year as successful as they can. And it's very difficult. I know. I mean, I've seen it. I talk to folks every day from across the state. They're having the same issues that we are. Some days are better than others. And so we just got to take it upon ourselves that sometimes we just have to agree to disagree. And then the number one priority we have are the 1,900 kids that we have in our buildings and now at home and wherever they may be. So, but anyways, that's all I have to make comment on. Dr. McDonald, do you want to give us an update and so forth?
Yeah, a couple of things. Won't take too long, even though I have several things on my list. Want to start off again, a lot of thank yous, but again, I wanted to thank the board for the support that you do for our school district and for the work that you do for our school district. It's greatly appreciated. And this is Board Appreciation Month. And I know we mentioned it last week at the board meeting, but I wanted to mention it again. So thank you for what you do. You're spending your evening now, and you're giving your service to us. So we really do appreciate that. Next, I want to, thank our staff. COVID and the pandemic, it's just been just hard to deal with for everybody. It's impacted our community, but it's been so difficult for school staff. And, this week we're preparing to return to our hybrid next week, and everybody has been working very hard so that we can, meet that goal for our students. And along that same lines, we believe that we will have our COVID vaccine day next week for our staff. So that's very good news. We are expecting the state education doses to be here in Bull County on Monday. And so we just found out this information in the last 24 hours. And so we're in the planning stages. So I don't have details. I did send an email out to staff to let them know that it's looking like that we will have that vaccine one day next week. So good news for our school system. Excited about that. Again, talking about COVID along the same lines, we are getting additional funds, relief funds from the federal and state government. So that's going to be very helpful. And again, we've just found this news out in the last few days. This is early news as well. We will have additional guidance on these relief funds the 1st of February. So we're just in the discussion phase, and it will take a while to plan, but in those early conversation stages, literally just the last few days, we're really going to focus those funds towards helping close that gap, that loss of learning that we've had due to virtual learning. And so all of those funds, or the largest majority of those funds, will be focused on closing that gap and helping our students catch up. And whether that's summer programs, after school programs, maybe programs even over spring break, but we're really going to focus those funds, towards our students and catching up that gap. So good news on that front as well. A couple of things, just want to let you know that visual and performing arts has a lot of great things going on, even though we've been in this crazy world. There's just a lot going on. So I wanted to list a couple really quickly. I'm sure that most people are aware of these, but just to let everybody know, Bate and Tolliver students have started monthly virtual and in-person creativity lessons. This is through our gifted program that we do such a great job with here in Danville, and kudos to all the staff that have been involved in that. One of the things that these creativity sessions include is Best Artist for our students. And I think that's just an amazing piece of the program. So that has started and really thriving. Also at DHS, we have play this month, and we also have a band performance. Now these performances are to invited audiences, very selected invited audience, and of course practicing all social distance and safety procedures as well. But glad that our students are able to showcase what they've been learning. So, but definitely under all of our safety guidelines. One other interesting thing that we've been that's been going on this year, and we mentioned it back in August, so some of you may be aware, but just wanted to bring it up again because it's a very neat pilot program that our high school's involved in, and that is a technical theater CTE pilot. And it's a national pilot program through Career and Technical Education, and we were accepted into that pilot. And so what it does is it's working towards a career pathway in CTE for technical theater. And the benefit to us being involved in that pilot program is our staff and our students are getting early access to curriculum and information. And one of the reasons I bring it up is that this week our students will be taking the pilot exam for that. So once it is an official pathway and we had students in it, of course they would take that exam at the end of that pathway. And so our students are helping develop the pathway by taking that exam. It's kind of like when we have students do tests, of exams for the State Department. And so being involved in that, helping the development of that, but also they get a view into what assessment would look like, and they get a feel for it. So when it's actually a full pathway, so it's beneficial on both sides. But kudos to all of our staff that's involved in that pilot and our students, and it's been benefiting us as well. So that's kind of a neat thing that's going on right now at the high school. So that's it. Still a lot of great things going on, even though we're in the middle of the pandemic.
Dr. McDonald?
Yes.
Real quick before you go on, I remember we had an email, I think, didn't the Bate academic team compete? And we had some great things from that. So I want to give them their kudos as well.
They did, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that, but they did. There were quite a few students that will be moving forward onto state. So yeah, kudos to the Bate academic team. They shine year after year after year. So very good for them.
Kids, your kids, people who can't see their grandparents.
Yeah, I got a nice update email from Mr. Carney, and it's exciting what he does with those kids and how they accomplish what they accomplish. And they were short students this time and still did extremely well. So, but we also have to thank the parents. That is a very, very parent-involved program, and without the parents as volunteers and getting their kids there and all that needs to be done, but it really is a wonderful program that he's had for several years and always great results. Does anybody else at this point have any comments they want to make?
Steve, can you hear me now?
Okay.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
I just want to let you know I got my vaccine shot Saturday at the VA.
I understand that the VA did almost 5,000 vaccinations over the weekend in Lexington alone.
Yeah,
so
but
that's unbelievable.
I left the house at 7.
The biggest fear is
I left the house at 6:35, going over the elections, and so 9:15, I was walking out of the place.
Early bird gets the vaccine early. That's true. That's good to know, Glenn. All right, personnel notification, Dr. McDonald. It's, have you all had a chance to read the report? It's an informational report. If y'all have any questions or anything you need to ask, just send Dr. McDonald an email or give her a call, and she'll be happy to do that. Okay. We also need to approve the minutes from the 12/16/20 meeting. Do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we approve of the 12/16/20 meeting as submitted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for the approval of December 16th, 20th meeting minutes as submitted. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Seeing there are none, the motion carries. Thank you all. Okay, we have a guest with us, and that's going to present an update on the Corning situation. Lucretia, how are you? I think your mute is on.
I get confused between programs. You can hit the space bar on one program to unmute. You can't on the next one. So I'm sorry.
That's okay. We're just glad you're here.
Oh, well,
we always like the person that brings us bad news.
Well, I told Teresa when she emailed me, I was like, oh my gosh, I thought I was like giving you all some good news. And now you're going to make me be like the person with just bad. So I'm not sure if you all love me or hate me yet, but I do feel like probably I am the best person to answer any questions you may have. At the same time, Teresa was in an email also. I have reached out to Department of Revenue for the status of the Corning case. It is in protest. So I don't have a lovely answer, like I told Teresa. There are some guidelines on that. Usually there's 45 days, and after that you get 30 days. Ultimately, they get to go all the way to the Kentucky Claims Commission, the same as you would for your real property. So as taxpayers, they have the same right to do that. So they're in the protest part right now. I spent a little time today breaking down what they sent in the letter that you all received, the same letter that I received, just to kind of, I didn't really know, I didn't have an update, which was disappointing. At the same, well, maybe you might still like me now. I don't have an update, but I was trying to kind of grasp what they were saying. And if anybody I know, Dr. McDonald, along with Teresa, if you read that, they really were saying they pretty much filed their return, just like kept doing it previous year, like signing their name to it. They didn't really know what they were signing, is what it sounds like to me. I did pull their actual returns to do a little homework to see if they broke down anything as in detailed as they did and what Dr. McDonald and everyone received on how they want to change it. So before, are there any specific questions? Is this something you kind of want me to explain, or are there any specific questions, or is this, you just want me to kind of tell you what's going on with it? Is that a better way to do it? Yes.
I would appreciate that.
Well,
Okay.
I think there, yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay. So,
We do have board members that'll be new to this.
okay, perfect. So I'm going to start just broadly really fast. I know you all have experienced some of this. If you're an older board member or, you know, have been there for a while, you experienced this with the Wausau. You experienced where a tangible personal property return is a self-reporting form. So unlike Kroger, where the PVA was the one who assigned that value to Kroger, and we had to constantly PVA do it, represent it, and back it up, tangible personal property is a self-reporting, which means Your local PVAs get it because we have to make sure they get the right taxing district so you all get your money. If not, it would be just like a federal form, like your tax form. The reason it's here is because your PVA locally assigns it the district where you all get your money versus Boyle County get the money. So that's why we're involved in a tangible form. There are some I will bring up. We do like to monitor this. For example, if you will go back, and I had Jacob at the finance go over this with me. If you go back and look, Corning since 2017 had filed on, let's just see, 17 million. Then they filed on 20 million. Then they went maybe to 24 million. So there wasn't a huge decrease for PVA to say, or anyone. For example, when Mary Conley was the treasurer, she would come down constantly. Where's my money? Why is there a decrease? And she and I would sit down and be like, oh, wait a minute. Somebody didn't report or somebody did. What Corning has done here is, in my opinion, they have rubber stamped a figure that may not be correct. That is where they are in protest with Department of Revenue. Department of Revenue has actually physically gone there. They will tell them yes or no, you pay on that or you don't, okay? That's the difference between real property and tangible property. Tangible is a self-reporting. We do kind of govern it. If there's a huge decrease, we're like, what happened? We usually call the taxpayer and be like, hey, why have you not reported? Or, hey, for example, a couple of years ago, Bob Allen reported on the wrong line. So we had this huge big increase of tax dollars for you all that wasn't eligible. So we called and we're like, hey, are you sure this is right? So that's what the tangible personal property is. The reason I'm speaking to you all today is it's a huge impact if it is ruled that they are allowed to do what they want to do. It is a huge impact. You all are the largest. It will impact everyone else, but you all, with having the largest tax rate, is where the biggest burden of this refund would fall. So I feel like that's why I'm here today, to discuss this. I did first reach out to Tom Crawford, my department head in Frankfurt, to ask, is there a statute? Is there anything that says if a company wants to do this, you can only do it up to $20,000 a year? Like, is there something that keeps this school district from having to write this huge check? And his answer was no. I said, well, there needs to be, but his answer was no. So my next question, what do you expect these entities to do? How, what happens with this? If this is continued and Department of Revenue allows this, what do they do? How do you refund $200,000 possibly? So a couple of things came up. Kind of like we discussed, I believe one time with when Paul Dean was there about refunding with Wausau. You just maybe have to give them a little piece of the pie, see how long they'll let you give them the piece of the pie to get it paid. B, there is an option when you set your tax rates. Now, speaking to you all aware, the Danville Independent School tax rate is quite large. You all have had many setbacks. Your growth has not been tremendous. You have been, we talked about this too, between losing properties to non-taxable entities, between Ephraim, between Center, you all inside your boundaries there are probably the ones who've been hit the hardest on losing revenue to tax. So if that were an option, is anybody on the meeting familiar with a gentleman that helps from Department of Revenue? His name is Che Ritter. Okay, Teresa knows him.
Sounds familiar.
Okay, so in a little bit of research with Che Ritter, it looks like he was possibly in some conversation where Jefferson County tried to do this one time, and they tried to sue the school board and say, you can't raise the rate, it's too much money. But if you use a compensating rate, and this is where Mr. Ritter will help you, Teresa, better explain this than myself. But if you use the compensating rate, what that allows you to do is, no matter what it takes, you're allowed to somewhat, not dollar for dollar, but somewhat try to recoup that money. Now, that sounds all great until every one of you here hears it from everybody who pays their taxes, like we all do. My rate went up. What are you doing with my money? You know, it's a no-win situation for you all. Honestly, I wish there was something I could say that made this better. I don't have any kind of professional or legal advice other than possibly the way you handled Wausau. If this is an option and you do have to refund, it's going to have to be a work with those people and say, we'll do what we can do. On the flip side, if I have any good news at all, you are, as far as revenue, possibly tangible even, you are going to gain your tax base. You know, you're getting the new assisted living out there by probably close to a $7 million, $10 million project. One thing to keep in mind too, if you all can get through this somehow comfortably and survive, I guess is my main thing, without getting torn to pieces. If the distillery that is supposed to go on Lancaster Road, kind of like that is out there on Lebanon Road, if and when that is able to happen, then that's a good stream of revenue that is Danville School. So right now, Boyle has kind of been benefiting from that, and the city, by the way, but they've been getting that money. So if there's any light at all in this tunnel, or if I can say anything, I think it's just going to be, if Department of Revenue allows Corning to do this, then approach it possibly like the Wausau, get it paid, and then hopefully start getting some more revenue in from, you know, the tangible, possibly if the distillery gets there. And then of course you're going to get some real property with new assisted living. I'm not sure. I don't want to ramble. I could forever on this. If there's a specific question, I'll be glad to answer. Right now, until we know what is happening, Frankfurt is representing everyone, you all and everyone, saying, you can't do this right now. You know, this is not acceptable. We're going to come assess it ourselves. That's where it is. Worst case scenario is whatever the figure was, Teresa, I'm not sure if that does happen, you know, you're still looking at $200,000 or more. If I were in your shoes, it's not like you can write a check for that. I mean, it won't happen. If there's any confidence or anything I can give with you, I don't have it right now because Frankfurt is not really, they've not sent me anything. I asked today for an update that says, hey, it's still in review. That's it. They gave me nothing. Kathy Thompson, Teresa, I did email her on Saturday she's kind of their supervisor. Somebody tell me something to present to the board because of the concern of this. And I was afraid they couldn't tell me details, but I did ask for this is where we are, and I still have not got anything. So I'm going to stop right now. I'll answer any question at any time also. I know Teresa and I correspond because we're hand in hand in collection, but if there's a board member or there's somebody who wants to come in here and sit down, that's my job. I'll show you this, I'll go over it with you. As soon as I get an update, I will get that to Teresa, and I feel like she definitely would get that out to you all. So I'm glad, I guess it's kind of a virtual meeting. Won't leave with any stones being thrown at me tonight, but any questions at all?
No, the only comment I have, and I had this on Wausau, is that with the mood of the state as it's been in, they always side with the corporations. And we have no decision. We have no right to a decision concerning that. It all comes from Frankfurt. It's all dictated from the revenue department. Whatever they say goes. I don't even think we have a right to sue. It just happens. So this, all of a sudden they have this awakening that they're paying way too much money in taxes when they're the ones that fill out the forms based upon the information they have. And now all of a sudden, you know, that's a loser property for them over there. And so they want to recoup several $100,000s from our school district. So I just want to let the rest of the board know we're in a no-win situation here. Revenue Department determines all this. They will go down and do the inspection of the property. They're probably going to side with Corning because their decisions are based upon jobs. So if we don't decide with Corning, they may decide to do something else with their operations. So it's just my opinion. We've been through this with Walsall. Walsall was horrible. They have absolutely no commitment to any of the communities that they're in. It was all about dollars. Now I'm hoping that Corning has a little bit of morality in their corporation than Walsall did. But unfortunately, I don't know if that's how it's going to go. So all we can do is sit back and wait and see what this decision comes down to.
So what stops this from becoming a snowball effect or a continuation when other companies decide that they are no longer, or they can't, whatever, and so what stops that from happening?
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Hey, Lucretia.
Courthouse didn't pay. Yes. Okay. Very good question. So in the letter that we received, okay, in this specific instance, what they're trying to say is, I'm going to paraphrase here for just a second, but I read it again today because I thought, how do you just to do this? Like your question, how do you just get to this? So what they said was, they filed on line 82, really fast. The location was originally purchased with plans to renovate and develop the property into a manufacturing facility. However, plans to develop the site were abandoned in 2014. The financial records included capital projects for building, and the 2016 and 17 returns were filed by reporting the cost on line 82, construction work in progress, which is other. Additionally, 2017 reported 25 million was erroneously carried forward when filing the 2018 return, and therefore was overstated. So they're not even trying to say they're not there. They're just strictly saying they erroneously listed it. So, how do I protect you in that? The way I do that is, if they would have sent this in at 600,000, it would have flagged me, and I'd been like, whoa. And representing everyone would go to them and say, why are you only doing this? You know, why is this here? I don't think they're trying to, I don't mean this bad, be like Walsall and get away with existing. I think they just literally said they carried it over. They rubber stamped it. Now, because I wanted to make sure in this return and in a return, there's breakdowns, like they list the property. They've listed it literally, now it totals up to 13.5 million, but they depreciated it all the way down to 676,000. So that's where Department of Revenue, and just like Steve said, I'm not having a lot of faith in them at the moment, and they will, I will demand, whatever that will do, an explanation. Can we change it? I don't know if we have a right necessarily to do that. We can look into that at the Kentucky Claims Commission, but we sure can ask for an explanation. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying, listen, we understand there's nothing we can do, but how do you keep this from happening? What do you do? Now, most people, when the things like this happen, it's not $25 million worth, maybe. But most people, the change is a little, it's never this much like this. And that's why it's hit so hard at 25 million. That's a lot to swallow. Now, if I owned a business and put $25,000 worth of inventory and only had 2,500, that's a little easier. But when you're dealing with 25, and that's why I called revenue saying there has to be something that says, if you messed up, you can't get more than X amount of dollars, period. Because how do you expect these entities to do that? And there's not anything with that. But you're right, sir. It's something that you definitely need an explanation. And that's what I feel I can do for you to bring back to you locally. It may not be good news. It could. But lots of times using that compensating rate is what I would end this conversation with you all today and say, hey, tell your people, make up for it a little bit, move on. You're going to start getting some money in. But for you all with your rate so large, that's hard to do because you're going to take a lot of, downfall from your critics, from your taxpayers with that. I mean, I'm sorry.
Well,
It just, yeah.
Well, it's a known fact right now. Corning is in a long time litigation over EPA problems at that property on Lebanon Road. And so they're I think they're trying to cover themselves for a payout on that. And that's been long standing, long going. So I kind of see what they're doing. They're trying to cover themselves for some losses.
Yeah. And I really wish there was something that I could break down for you all and be like, hey, they took this big piece of machinery they had and reported it on the wrong line. They just literally said to me, they carried that number forward. Like they didn't even look at the return. Like Steve said, at some point you have to be responsible for doing that. You can't just do that when it has such an effect on people. Currently, there is no legislation that stops them from doing that. You all may be the first. If we don't, not we, but if you don't win the Corning, it may be something that you all as a school district say, hey, I'm sorry, Howard Hunt must not pay the bill up here. Like the lights cut off randomly. Hold on, let me see if I can make it. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's by sensor. I'm going to stand up for a second. Okay, no. So I'm going to talk to you in the dark. That may be something honest.
That's okay. Lucretia.
Yes.
Yeah. We appreciate your report. It's unbelievable that, once again, getting hit with $250,000, that's an ongoing thing. And luckily enough, we've been able to work it out with Wausau. We didn't have to pay it all at once. But I do look at it as they made the mistake. We didn't. But guess who gets to pay for it? And it isn't just the Danville schools. It's the library. It's the fire department. It's the health department. All those that participate in this kind of taxing. We take the biggest hit. But there's 4 or 5 other entities that also take a hit too. So I'm sure that Dr. McDonald and Ms. Osborne will be back in touch with you. And I appreciate you taking your time and reporting this to the board. And we're probably going to have a conversation with board attorney to see if actually there is anything we can do. So that's where we'll take it. Thank you. Does anybody else on the board have any comments or concerns?
No, but thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime. Like I said, feel free. The office is open.
All right. Thanks. Good to see you.
You too.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we now will have the strategic plan update. Dr. McDonald.
Yes, so I've shared my screen and we have Mrs. Satterley and Mrs. Ray that are going to help us with this update. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Satterley and she's going to talk us through the first 3 goals.
I'm going to go ahead and apologize if you can hear the cartoons in the background, but my 2-year-old has to be occupied. So I'll try to go as quickly as possible. So goal number 1, of course, is around the ACT. And you kind of got a little bit of an update on this first piece back in the fall. We tested any junior who didn't get to take the ACT in March, which we only had 14 who didn't get to test in March. So we tested a few of them in the fall, and we also get the opportunity to test them again when the juniors this year take it. So on March 9th through 11th and 16th through 18th, we will administer the ACT to all 11th grade students via online testing. This will allow us to test them in small groups at different times and no material handling. During that same window, those 12th graders who didn't test in the spring or fall of 2020 will have one more opportunity to test. Of course, you all know you approved this. April 20th through 22nd and 27th through 29, we will administer the ACT to all 10th grade students via online testing as well. Online testing, again, will allow us a longer window of time to test, to bring in small groups and no material handling. Are there any questions about that goal? And our high school students are actually taking CERT this week and next week, which is an ACT prep type program. They take it 3 times in the fall, winter, and spring, and they are getting ready to start their winter testing window.
Okay.
Weaponized violent racism.
Okay, so if there are no questions on that one, the second goal surrounds being at or above state average in both reading and math by 2022 as measured by state assessments. And of course, we all know we didn't take state assessments last year. And currently state assessments, the Kentucky Department of Education is saying we are proceeding as if we are testing pending a presidential inauguration tomorrow, because when office changes, cabinet changes, and things could be different in a few weeks. Currently, curriculum documents are in place and continue to be updated as fluid documents. Anchor standards have been identified as the main focus for this school year. So our teams are working on those big rock standards like Mr. Stanfield questioned in last week's meeting. PLC meetings are in place in all the buildings and are occurring every week virtually. That and common planning time. Each building has their own protocol and they adjust as needed based on what the teachers need to improve their practices. I was in a 2nd grade PLC today where the 2nd grade team was looking at a transition non-negotiable document where they are identifying those big skills that they need every 2nd grader to come to Tolliver with in reading and writing, math, and supporting skills in social, emotional, and behavior. Teachers in grades K through 5 are also using common planning time to plan horizontally. And that's what I just talked about. The next bullet, currently we're working on identifying necessary transitional skills in reading, writing, and math. From 1st to 2nd grade, we are also identifying soft skills that students should have to start 2nd grade. We will be going through this process at each transitional grade level. So in 2nd grade, 6th grade, and 9th grade. And eventually between all grade levels. We just felt like the transition years were a good place to start. We will be administering the winter map to students in grades K through 5 who return to the hybrid A/B model. We figure we don't have a whole lot of data right now. So any data we can get at this time will be data we can use. And the reason we are only giving it to the students who return hybrid is because we found that when we tested virtually, it wasn't really valid. So the schools are toying with possibly making one-on-one appointments to bring in students who are staying in the teacher-led distance learning model. The letters training, which is language for PAGE, that is language essentials for teachers of reading and spelling. It's a metacognition job embedded professional development that all of our K through 5 teachers have participated in over the past 2 years. The majority of our pre-K through 5 teachers are finished with units 4 through 8, which are the last 4 units. Only 8 teachers, when I gave Dr. McDonald this update, remain to finish, and that could be different as of today. Are there any questions on that one? Okay, goal 3 is about equitable access to education and growth via all subject areas, regardless of student performance level. We are now one-to-one with devices for all students in the Danville district. Teachers are working, as you all said in your board member comments, daily to create engaging and relevant assignments for students to continue learning in our current situation. We currently have the following numbers in career pathways. You can see those there. I'm not going to go through and read all those to you if that's okay with you all. And we do still have some students who are traveling to Garrett County Area Technology Center, 8 students. We are currently partnering with the following colleges and universities for dual credit opportunities for students: the University of Louisville, Eastern Kentucky University, Bluegrass Community and Technical College, Campbellsville University, and Western Kentucky University. And I will add to this when we talk about equitable access to education and growth. The Diversity and Equity Council is working right now on a one-pager of the desk audit. I think I told you all that last week. So Ms. Steppenfield sent me a mock-up of that today that we're going to go over with the council. And we had originally planned on meeting tonight, but when the board meeting moved to tonight, we switched that to next week. And we may, depending on arrangements for Melinda's father, may have to move that again as well, just because we want to be cognizant of that in our planning. So are there any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Adderley.
Thank you.
Okay, I have goals 4 and 5. Good evening.
Good
Goal
evening.
4 focuses on increasing the district's capacity to address students' social and emotional health. And I want to go back to the comment Wade made last week at last week's meeting. Wade, you'd said something about recognizing the superhuman efforts put forth by our staff. And you were spot on with that. You know, none of us expected to continue virtual learning for as long as we have. And it's created tremendous strain on our staff. Teachers are exhausted and stressed, and they're also experiencing some secondary stress. They're seeing the toll that all this has taken on their students, the frustration and stress from family, and that creates secondary stress for our staff. And one of the things that we've really tried to be cognizant of and focus on is the mental well-being of our teachers. Sharon Todd is offering like a coffee with a counselor session where any staff who's experiencing a high level of stress and just feels the need to speak with someone can reach out to her, make a request, and they have a confidential session where she can provide them with some strategies, you know, some self-care strategies and ways to handle that stress. Another thing that I'm excited to tell you about is we recently enrolled in the Secondary Traumatic Stress Breakthrough Series Collaborative that's being launched between UK or KDE through the AWARE grant in collaboration with UK Center on Trauma and Children. Our staff are currently completing a survey that's being administered by Dr. Jenny Sprang at UK to determine the degree to which our school and district is secondary traumatic stress informed and the level to which our staff are experiencing that stress. And it's an anonymous survey, and what we will do is use those results to help us set goals and objectives for the Secondary Traumatic Stress Breakthrough Series Collaborative that our school is going to develop and participate in. So I'm really excited about that because you all know we've got to take care of the people who are taking care of the kids, make sure we look out for their needs as well. The first step kits, all teachers have had those and had that training and continue to incorporate social emotional learning lessons during their virtual instruction time with students. Sharon Todd, our district school wellness counselor, has a full caseload of students, and she sees a lot through telehealth, and she also is seeing students one-on-one in person. Any question about goal 4?
Ms. Wright,
Yes.
let me ask, when the surveys are completed from the AWARE grant, how will that information be disseminated, and also will some of that, seeing that it is anonymous, will some of that be able to be shared with the board? I mean, I have the impression there are a lot of teachers out there that think that the board doesn't care about them and the stresses that they're going through. And I know that's just not true. I know sometimes that through decisions, it looks like we don't care, but honestly, we do. So I'm just trying to figure out how that information, however it could be presented to the board so that we can try to help in some of those areas also.
Well, we have put together a district team that's supposed to receive a training next week where we're going to go over the results of the survey and just take a look at what that means for us as a district. And I think the focus is going to be more on their work environment and providing them the supports that they need to reduce the stress. And we can definitely report our efforts to the board, the results of the survey, and then what our plan will be to help address any concerns that arise as a result of the survey.
Yeah, and I think that's important for the board to know. If we don't know what we can do to help the situation, then obviously we can't move forward.
Correct.
So I'm just hoping that somewhere down the road that we can have a presentation, from you or from the group.
Absolutely.
To kind of explain to us where things are and possible remedies to the concerns.
Absolutely. That's a very important conversation. Absolutely.
Ray.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. That was really good. I was really happy and excited to hear those steps that you were talking about,
Yes,
that
sir.
you were speaking of. And I just want to just say it again, because I don't want us to really have a double standard, because we keep saying, if we're saying we have a standard, we one of our strategic plans and our goal is written and talking about, the self-care and how we're taking care of our teachers. What I don't want us to do, though, is say, now what I need you guys to do is to take care of yourself, and then we pile on more work.
Right.
So I just want us to be mindful as a district that we don't say, well, you take care of yourself, and then we as a district turn around and say, but I need you to do this.
Right. Well, I can say from experience that from top down, from Dr. McDonald all the way down, principals, all of us were encouraged to unplug at certain times. And I have to remind teachers a lot that, at 7:00 at night, you don't need to be responding to texts and emails. That's your family time, like setting those boundaries. And I think that's another thing that this virtual environment has unfortunately blurred the lines between work and family, because a lot of people are at home. So working at home, it's like there's not a more physical boundary between work and home. It's very blurred right now. So reminding teachers to take that time, which all of our administration does, and being mindful of what we are putting on them. I think we're all mindful of that. And then supporting and being willing to jump in and help as we can to relieve some of that extra workload.
I think what's happening also at this time, we going through this pandemic situation will allow us to probably write some goals and objectives on how to handle this in the future. So you're learning as you go, but you got to establish those objectives and the things so everybody's helped on both sides.
Right. And I can also speak to the fact that, Sharon, Todd, and even our teachers have done a wonderful job of talking to parents, listening to them, because sometimes that's the best thing you can do is just listen, and let people know that they're not alone. The stress they're going through and the worries they have are common right now, and creating that sense of community, and we're going to get through this together. I think that's going to be very beneficial.
It is. It's important. So we appreciate.
Okay, goal number 5.
Yeah, goal to number 5.
Addresses us having an operational behavioral management system within the schools, and that's our positive behavior intervention and support system that we had started. And unfortunately, COVID hit, and that changed the way school looks for all of us. But our district team will be meeting in February to look ahead, as we are coming back to the landscape has changed somewhat, and what do we need to do? What supports do we need to have in place to prepare for that? Because we know students, it's going to be a big transition for some coming back. So we want to be as prepared for that as we can. And Sherry talked about goal number 2. This also supports goal number 2, because, a big part of a student's success in school is being emotionally stable and safe, and demonstrating appropriate behavior to where they're ready to learn. Any questions about goal 5?
So I'm going to talk about the last three goals. We actually had an update on 7 and 8 at last board meeting. I'll touch on it briefly. So these are fairly quick. So goal 6 is around school safety. And so what you see on the screen is not anything different than our last update, because this is something that we do daily. So there's not necessarily a time stamp that at a certain time of the year, this or this, you know, with the exception that we review, of course, all of our safety protocols and manuals and procedures at certain times of the year, but we are following our safety protocols and making sure that we're as safe as possible all the way around daily. The one thing I will add on this goal is because we are planning to open back up hybrid next week, all of our principals and administrators, and then those administrators with their staff are reviewing our Healthy at School guidance document from the state, and then the Healthy at School information that we put in place for our hybrid model so that we make sure that we are as safe as possible. So not any new information, except that we are reviewing everything before we start back to school next week. So goal 7, we went over all of these and we'll do some tonight. So this is our finance goal about really being fiscally responsible and making sure that we have all of the processes in place so that, you know, our school district is financially healthy. And so we looked at the draft budget in December, and we will talk about that again at an agenda item here in just a few minutes. We talked about cross-training in December, and we looked at that document, and Teresa discussed that then. Of course, we've just finalized our annual audit. You had a report on that audit in December that has been turned in to KDE, and we continue to have Mr. Ball monthly look over our invoices and we appreciate him serving in that extra capacity for us and having that extra eye on things each month as we go along. We've been doing things over the last couple of months towards these goals. So this is probably in the forefront of your mind, but is there any questions on 7 and our financial goals? So 8, we have again seen every bit of this, so I'm not going to reread it to you, but last week we did our draft recruitment document, and we talked about those pieces that we have in place. We also talked about that the Diversity and Equity Council is going to really take that document in hand, give us some tips and ideas and things that we can do and really help us flesh that out more so that it is a stronger document. And so you heard Mrs. Satterley say that meeting is scheduled for next week. So we're hoping to get some information there, but you as a board see that draft document last week. And then the hiring data is a big piece that we've analyzed this year, and we presented that last week as well. We've kind of listed, which you may not have seen last week, but we've listed here in the first bullet. So I'll just point that out, the job fairs that we're scheduled for. And we have a few more that are getting ready to open up registration. So we'll be registering for some other ones soon, and we'll definitely keep the board updated on those as well. Any questions about 8, which is our recruitment and retention of staff? Okay, great. So I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Baker.
Okay, it was a great report. You know, when you started this and put the team together on the strategic plan, the request of the board was to make sure it's a living document and one that's not going to be put on the shelf and never looked at. So I will have to commend everybody that makes sure that this document remains very important to our district. And thank you all very much for that. Let's go to item number 7, which is now the district facilities plan update. Is that you, Dr. McDonald?
Yes, I'm just going to give a very quick update.
Okay.
So as everyone knows, we are in our 4-year cycle review for our district facilities plan. We have a local planning committee. That committee, the names and so forth were presented to the board at an earlier board meeting. And so we, this past Thursday evening, had our first meeting. Mrs. Sherry Satterley was elected chair. And the meeting went very smoothly. We had about a 30-minute introduction video from KDE that really outlined the process and all the pieces that are laid out that we need to make sure we cover. And so it was a good introduction and really helped us, not to miss anything with that video from KDE. I did upload the agenda for that meeting this last Thursday for the board. If you're interested, you can look at it. I know the meeting's passed, but just if you were out of curiosity, you could see what we did. And then I also uploaded a tentative schedule for the local planning committee. We were initially supposed to have our second meeting this Thursday, but we are awaiting some information from KDE that we did not receive by the end of the day. So we pushed each of our Thursday meetings out 1 week since we're waiting on some information from KDE. But you can still see the tentative timeline there. We're planning to meet each Thursday. And the second meeting will be next Thursday, which I believe is the 21st. And the 28th. So we'll have our second meeting on the 28th. So we're in the early stages of the process, but it's underway. We have scheduled meetings, and our first meeting went very smooth.
Okay, can I interject at this point? Is there not another meeting at 6:30 today?
So there was not.
No.
No, the meeting that was supposed to be today was the Diversity and Equity Council, which is why I asked to bump this one back a half hour. But at the same time that I was bumping this meeting back so that they could meet this evening, Mrs. Satterley was rescheduling their meeting. So we were all trying to reschedule to accommodate each other and got our wires crossed.
No, I just wanted to make sure, because if you guys needed to be excused, it's perfectly a acceptable thing to do. So anyways, no, I appreciate your all's work on that. And I just got worried that this was running over into your next meeting. So obviously that's not the case right now. So
no,
good
we're
deal.
good this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, do you have anything else you need to add or want to add on the facilities plan?
No, not unless there's any questions. I'll be glad to answer questions.
Okay. Well, just looking forward to where we can have our first meeting. It'd be great. So get that process started. Let's go to the finance reports.
Okay, you should have an attachment with the December finance report. If you'll look at part 1, this is from the trial balance. You will see we started the month with $10,016,052.76. We've brought in $396.80, and our total disbursements were $2,010,465.26. That left us with a balance at the close of month of $10,965,984.30. In part 2, you'll see we have that same amount broke down by fund. And then at the bottom, you'll see in part 3, that's where we balance to our bank reconciliation. On the second page, you're going to see everything we've paid out for the month. You're going to see the claims, which totaled $792,147.79. And our payroll was $1,218,317.47. And then the next page, you'll see our receipts. And our total receipts were $2,960,396.80. And then on page 4, you'll see our bank reconciliation. Is there any questions?
Teresa, it looked like we had a pretty strong month on tax collection.
Yes, so far we've collected 93% of the bills, but 96% of the money, the actual dollar amount. So we're doing very well.
That is fantastic through all this uncertainties about things. And so we are doing well. So thank you and your staff for, I don't know what y'all are doing, getting out on Lexington Avenue and dancing or something, but you're bringing in the dollars. So greatly appreciate it. Does anybody else have any questions about the finance report?
Thank you, Ms. Teresa.
You are welcome.
Okay, we need a motion, please.
I'd like to make the motion that we accept the finance report as submitted.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing there are none, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Osborne, now we go to payment of invoices.
You should have an attachment for that as well for all the bills for the month of December. There's a couple I just want to point out to you. Kentucky Utilities, I try to pull a utility each month. Our KU bill for this month was $28,903.90. You'll see it on page 7. On page 10, you'll see Ross Tarrant. We paid the bill for $1,922.30. That was to help facilitate for our facility plan update, where our local planning committee gets together and meets on that. And then on page 13, you're going to see the bulk of what we've paid the month of December is to US Bank. It's $624,417. That is for debt service.
Well, we can pay it. That's a good thing.
Any questions?
Okay, anybody have any comments or concerns or questions concerning the payment of invoices? Seeing there are none, we need a motion, please.
I make a motion that we approve of the invoices totaling $792,147.79 as submitted.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 All those opposed? Seeing there are none, motion carries. Okay, now we're going to go to item 8, draft budget. Now this is a living document. So because a lot of times, as Teresa probably will explain, and Dr. McDonald, there's a lot of information we don't have. So they make sure that the document is correct, and it basically changes several times. So Teresa, are you going to present this?
I can. You've got 2 attachments. One is a narrative, which kind of points out what little we know at this time. The Word document that is attached is the actual, or no, I'm sorry, the PDF is the actual draft budget, which Dr. McDonald has put up on the screen. Keep in mind, this is early. We don't know everything yet. What this budget is holding, we're kind of guessing on what our revenues are going to be and what our expenses are going to be. We haven't talked with the principals yet about staffing. So basically all I did was up our staffing that we have currently just a little bit to allow for step increases. Then our county retirement CERS, I don't know if you know or not, it's going up about 3%. I went ahead and added that. CERS is going up. This year we're paying 24.6%, I think it is, and it's going up to 26.95. And what that is, it's the match for all the classified staff. So I've adjusted the budget for that amount as well. If you look at the draft budget narrative, Dr. McDonald, can you pull that up? You'll kind of see up at the top, I always leave, we're in January, we're just reviewing revenues right now because we don't know a lot yet. Come May, we'll have the tentative budget and we'll have stronger numbers. But I've kind of broken down in this budget, that's what our general fund is right now. You'll see the $26,349,000, and I've got a 0 left over there. I've got it broke down by capital outlay, your building fund, your food service. We're not going to put like Fund 2. We don't know what the federal grants are going to pay yet. So, so I did make a list at the bottom. You'll see that our contingency right now in this budget is 10%. So I don't know if you recall or not, the auditors wanted us to get that up to 12%. So I'm trying to be a little conservative and not push it up too high just yet because we don't know a lot yet.
Teresa, what was our contingency last year? Wasn't it around 7.5%?
It was 17 at the end of the year. And I think some of that was due to COVID. You know, you start out with a contingency and it was probably, you're probably right, 7 or 8%. But then a lot of our expenses we didn't have. So when the auditors came and did the actual audit, you'll see in the audit report where it said it ended with 17%, which was fabulous, but some of that was to the detriment of our students.
Right.
So,
that's right. Let me ask also quickly, the forecasted SEEK base 8% cut, is there still talk of that? Because I haven't heard much more about it.
Well, we're going to get cut, and we basically got cut this year, even though the state kept us at our current SEEK level, but they used coronavirus relief funds for that. So the cut is there. They just used relief funds to offset it. Well, there's no guarantee they'll do that next year.
Right.
So me being conservative, I'm just kind of planning for that, hoping that's the worst case scenario.
Okay, thank you.
And then if you look down through there, you'll see some other considerations. One of them you'll see looking at staffing to be cut by 3%. If you recall, our auditor said our staffing was 83.5% of our general budget. He wanted to see us get down to 80. KDE recommends between 74 and 78 for a district to be healthy. We're not going to do that just right off the bat. We're going to do like the auditor request and try to get it around 80% mark.
Okay.
Of course, I allowed for step increases and rank changes. I am assuming, and I'm just budgeting for if our property tax just stayed at compensating. You know, I have no idea what you guys are going to decide this fall, but I just kept it at what we are currently. There is a possible KTRS increase. There's some discussions going on where teacher retirement is looking at bringing in, I forgot the exact wording they used, like a different tier, kind of like county retirement does. So I'm still waiting to hear about that. And then, of course, at the very bottom, I added a chart showing debt service, how much of it is general fund and how much will come out of the building fund. Those things I know already for next year.
Okay.
Any questions? Kathy?
Thank you, Ms. Teresa, for that. This will be the working on the draft budget. That'll be interesting for me. So I appreciate all that.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions or comments they want to make concerning the draft budget right now?
No,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Do we need to go into the actual file, the draft budget at this point, as far as that, or does the narrative pretty much get us taken care of it right now?
Yeah, at this time, you don't have to vote on it. All it is a review.
Right. Right. Okay. And just remember, everyone, that this is an ongoing document, and we don't even get the budget approved until, is it September? Is that correct, Ms. Osborne?
Yes.
And so that's a lot of work that gets put into this, and it's ongoing. So those who may not be comfortable with the budget part of it, this is really a good way to learn it, because it is a step-by-step way on how to put this thing together. So if we end up with a 17% contingency this year, man, that's a heck of a blessing. But like you said, it was COVID related and all that. Okay. I think we're ready to move to item 9, which is adjournment. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say